Welcome to the Whistleblower of the Week podcast, hosted by FBI whistleblower Jane Turner. Join her as she shares the stories of real-life heroes and people of integrity.
Welcome to Whistleblower of the Week. I'm your host, Jane Turner, and today I am so pleased to have on an FBI whistleblower. That is Teresa Tumblin and her esteemed attorney, Mr. Dan Meyer with Tully Renke. And they're going to talk to us about Teresa's case. And the reason it's so interesting, and I want everybody to be aware of this, is Teresa has been in the arena since July of 2014. And it's not unusual for the FBI to keep these cases going until either the whistleblower dies or gives up. But in this case, Teresa Tumblin is hanging in there. Welcome, Teresa and Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Jane.
Glad to be here.
So, Teresa, tell us a little bit of your background, because not everybody goes into the FBI, and even less are whistleblowers. So, kind of give us an idea about your background. Where did you come from?
I am from a little small town in Jefferson County, West Virginia. Born and raised in Jefferson County, West Virginia, and come from a rather low-income family. And I spent my first part of my career, I got married very young, and had my first child, and all the odds was stacked up against me. You know, everyone, society would have said, this person is going to live off of the state for the rest of their life.
Oh.
But that's not me. That's not who Teresa is. She takes care of herself and she takes care of her family. And I started with working at the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, and I worked there for 18 years while I was raising a family. It was a perfect place to raise a family, very family oriented. But then as my last child was about to graduate, I decided, what do I want to do when I grow up? And
Yes.
being after 9/11 and being that I wanted to do something that helped others. And I knew I could never retire from a nonprofit. And so I wanted something that had good retirement benefits. So I started looking into the government. And that's when I ran across the job with the FBI. The funny story about the FBI job is that when I was, I applied for that job in 2006. And I had my interview, that was in January of 2006. In August of 2006, I had my interview. And I thought, I really want this job, but I cannot do it until my daughter graduates. My husband and I had adopted a teenager, and she was very hands-on and needed someone to be there around the clock. And so I knew I couldn't take this job until I got her through school. And so I just started praying, God, I really want this job, but I can't take it until after she graduates. And so the states had a hiring freeze, and I just every so often, every 3-4 months, I would get a call saying, "Hey, you still interested in this job?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm still interested." And they said, "Okay, we'll keep you on the list." Well, my daughter graduated on June the 7th, 2008, and I EOD'd on June 8th, 2008. So that is a specific answer to prayer, and I knew I was where God wanted me to be.
Excellent. So, what did you do once you entered the FBI? What was your job requirements?
We were in training the first 6 weeks. I entered on duty as a research analyst. Originally, that was not the job that I had interviewed for. But when the hiring freeze lifted, they needed research analysts. So that was the
Mhm.
role I was put in. They don't tell you much about what you're going to be doing in the
Right.
interview process. So
No.
you have no clue. And so I'm jumping into this blind because
Mhm.
I have no idea exactly what I'm going to be doing. But I had faith that I could learn and
Mhm.
grow, and that I did really well. I was able to grasp the information. I was able to um, understand the processes. And even though this job is not made for everyone, and a lot of people struggles, I seem to get it right from the beginning. I do not have a college education. I'm a high school graduate, and that's as far as my education goes.
Mhm.
But I was able to do well in understanding the processes and understanding the policies right away. And so I grew quickly within the FBI. My position was what they call a step grade position, and
Mhm.
it was a 7, 9, 11, 12. And
Oh,
I did that every year. I did when other colleagues of mine with degrees could not do that.
right.
So
It
it
was very
shows that
specific, right? It was very
y-
specific, Teresa. Your
yeah,
job duties. Tell us about your job duties. What did they entail? And you were obviously very good at this.
I was a research analyst for the National Name
Mhm.
Check program, and my duties was to research the FBI databases
Mhm.
for information on name check subjects that over 50 different government agencies submit. These
Wow.
name checks are not name checks on a smaller level. These are from other government agencies. And it was a role that is very important because this
Mhm.
determines if a person's going to get a visa, if they're going to be able to get a federal job, if they're going to be able to be within arm's reach of the president.
Right.
So this is a pretty serious role that you have.
Mhm. And you were good at it. I mean, you got superiors or above, correct?
Yes.
And you were lifted into the higher ranks of the bureau.
I
You got
grew quickly into the
Mhm.
role, and like I said, I met each of my steps each year
Mhm.
without fail when people with degrees could not do that. So yes, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but that's reality. I was
Right.
very good at my job. So good that when a position became available where they needed a quality assurance person to make sure that the other research analysts were following the processes and policies correctly, I was selected out of a pool of 27 other individuals. And
Wow.
I was selected to fill that position.
And this new position, you kinda have to have quality control over the others and what they were doing. And
Yes,
like you said, yeah,
that was my job, was to review and to make sure policies and best practices and procedures were all being followed.
and it's
But
very important, isn't it? Like you
it
said,
yes,
you're the front line there for catching possible bad people
yes,
from getting in roles of authority.
yes. And it didn't take me long into that role to realize processes and procedures were not being followed.
Okay, do you wanna tell us what was happening?
I started noticing right away that there there I indexing practices for our records within the FBI were not being entered correctly, and
Oh,
or not only or being entered at all. And indexing is important because it's the pointer to the subject within the record. It's like opening a book, and you open a book and say you have 1,000-page book and you're looking for one particular name. You're going
Right.
to go to the back of the book to see what page that name is on. That's kind of what indexing is for FBI records.
Right. And isn't it extremely important because that allows the FBI to connect the dots?
Exactly.
So
That
it could,
is
yeah, that's where we fell down. That Colleen Raleigh blew the whistle on, and the Bureau realized they had a terrible problem with connecting the dots from all
yes.
these different field offices.
That is exactly right. And so years after 9/11, we still weren't connecting the dots. We weren't
Ah,
connecting the dots within our own records because agents weren't being required to enter this information. The policy says that they have to enter the indexing and that they have to, but it doesn't say what has to be indexed
ah,
or how much information has to be indexed. So that was the first thing I noticed. And I started saying things, and they're like, I was being told indexing wasn't important. And that
oh,
if that was the only mistake was being made was indexing, they weren't even going to put it in the system.
oh, ouch. Now,
Yeah,
so what level is telling you this? Is this your supervisor?
this was my team lead, supervisor, unit chief, all the
Oh,
way up, because I would put these what we call discrepancies into the database, and they would delete them. And
wow.
they would, and so I would say, okay, so this isn't right. But they did not see indexing as important, and they didn't see it as the connecting the dots that it is. And even to this day, even to right now, the FBI is aware that there's an indexing problem, and that in 2012, when we went to from a paper record format to
Hmm.
a digital record format, that agents were entering the default to subjects when they would enter a subject. So the default was for came up as a reference record. And but you had reference, main, and you had victims
Right.
and complainant. Well, the default was reference. Well, they weren't changing the subjects as mains if they were mains. They were just leaving the default as reference. And that is was still going on up until 2023.
Okay.
The bad thing about this is that when these records are listed as reference and these subjects come through, reference records are automatically kicked out and are not viewed.
Oh, no.
Yes. So you have all of these main subjects in our files that these records are not even being looked at. They're not being found.
So you told your supervisor, went up to the unit chief, section chief. What they told you it's not important?
Well, this was only told right before I got dismissed.
Oh,
What happened in 2014 was a congressional mandate was not being met. Even though this was the first thing I noticed was the indexing, but that never went anywhere.
okay.
Then we were mandated to close 98% of our cases within 24 hours, and we had to close the other 2% within 90 days. What they were doing is they were closing these records as a resubmit and saying we didn't have enough information to close them. And it wasn't because we didn't have the information to close them. It was we couldn't meet that deadline, and we didn't want it to go against the AD on her performance review.
You're talking about the assistant director?
The assistant director, yes.
Ah,
So what they would have us do in the national name check leadership was close these cases out before they hit that 90 days, so there wasn't any black marks against the AD's part.
oh dear.
And so that was what I originally reported in 2014.
Right.
I've reported it that because we was told in 2013 that this was an unethical practice, we were no longer to be doing it, and it needed to stop immediately.
And who told you that?
That came from the section chief of the National Name Check Program.
Okay. So they said this is unethical.
They put it in policy.
Okay. It was
They
written.
even put it in policy. It's unethical. We are not to be doing this. And lo and behold, in 2014, in July, I came across the case that was closed for this very reason. And I took it to my team lead.
Right.
Then I took it to my supervisor, then the unit chief. I skipped the assistant section chief because his name was actually listed in the write-up. Went to
Oh.
the section chief. I even went as far as went to the ethical advisor.
Okay.
And I was told by all of these that I just didn't have all the information, that really nothing was done wrong. I just didn't have all the information, and that I should just let it go. There wasn't nothing to report. It wasn't nothing wrong. When I went to the first ethical advisor, I was told the same thing. I was told in writing, in an email, that you just don't have all of the information. I know it doesn't look good, but it's really not what it looks like. I went to another ethical advisor within the Bureau, and he said that I needed to report that to the AD and or the DAD, the assistant director and or the deputy assistant director.
Correct.
And so I went to the AD, the assistant director, and I told her, and I asked for a meeting, and then I explained what was happening. And she said, "Where's everyone? You said you went to all these people. Where are they? Why aren't they in here with you telling me this?"
Right.
And I said, "You would have to ask them."
Okay.
And so she opened an investigation, an inspection, sent it to the inspection division immediately, opened an inspection, and I started receiving reprisal instantly.
Okay. So they
Employees
came
was-
after you. They came after you is the
yes,
bottom line.
employees started being told not to associate with me.
Yeah.
I wasn't even considered for the role. In August, we were notified that the permanent position of quality assurance reviewer was going to be changed to a rotational position. And so now I was no longer going to be a permanent QA reviewer. And they were going to put people in my place that didn't know the policies or the procedures. And
Right.
they were going to be the ones reviewing the work now.
Sure. So do you feel that, first of all, there was a cover up, and then secondly, they started retaliating against you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then after that happened, that was in July, and like I said, the reprisals started immediately. In March, I actually contacted the FBI director. At the time was Director Comey.
Okay.
And I emailed Director Comey, and I was just like, I explained to Director Comey that about the whistleblower incident with the not that I made a protected disclosure
Right.
regarding the 90-day policy that was
Right.
congressional mandate, but then that's when I started explaining about the indexing errors,
Mm-hmm.
the discrepancies being deleted out of the database, the discrepancies being downgraded,
Mm-hmm.
that all could lead to a national security incident.
Right.
And so Director Comey responded, um, and basically said he took them very seriously, and he was going to have the Information Management Division and National Name Check Program looked into.
Sure.
And an investigation and inspection was opened on Air Division. So now I not only had an inspection opened on the National Name Check Program, but now there was one opened up on the division itself. So
By
the
the
entire
director.
division.
Yeah, by the director. Yeah.
And so then things really started getting bad in
Ah,
2015. I got overlooked for positions that I had been working towards. I was the only one that had taken the time to become adjunct faculty certified. Adjunct faculty certified means I can be a trainer in the FBI. So I
mm-hmm.
can train the FBI employees how to index. I can
Mm-hmm.
train the FBI employees about the process and the policies and the procedures. Um, when these training roles became open, I was passed over, even though I was the only one in that section and division with the qualification and certification to fill those positions. And I
And
was
the
passed
and,
over.
and Teresa, you had institutional knowledge.
Yes.
You'd been there for quite a while at that point. So you had the
So,
institutional knowledge also, besides
yes.
experience and everything else.
And I
Oh,
was passed over, and they did not want someone that knew the policies and procedures. They were falsifying reports. They knew they were falsifying reports. And they wanted people that would just say, review the work and say, okay, there's a spelling error here or there's a grammatical error here. But that's what they wanted people to review. They didn't want people to review whether the policies and procedures were being followed.
wow. I have to ask you a couple things here, Teresa, because this is really fascinating. A director comes out every year and says, we protect our whistleblowers. We follow, the whistleblower requirements given to us by the government. In your case, that doesn't seem like somebody was telling the truth.
No, no. And from 2014 to 2019, I was still in the National Name Check program. I never received another promotion after that. So
Oh,
I was receiving awards and promotion for my performances. That stopped. Um, I was not given the opportunities for advancement.
mm-hmm.
All my FBI career came to a halt. That's
Yep.
where it just any advancement opportunity ended at that point. But I was okay with that. For for one, I knew that the FBI had to protect me. I
Mm-hmm.
trusted that.
Right.
And I took an oath, and the oath that I took said, I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Mm-hmm.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I
Mm-hmm.
will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I
That's right.
will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God.
That's right.
I did not realize that the enemies was going to come from within the FBI. I wasn't expecting that when I made that oath, but I still took that oath. And that my oath, the emphasizes of the oath is on commitment to uphold the
Mm-hmm.
Constitution and faithfully perform the duties. I was doing that, and I was still doing that even after the reprisals started, I was still doing my very best. I was still determined to protect the people of the
Mm-hmm.
all the Americans in the best way I knew how. And that was
Yeah.
the fight through this process. Things had gotten so bad. I
Mm.
was being bullied, harassed.
Mm-hmm.
My physical, mental,
Mm-hmm.
emotional health was deteriorating. Financially, the cost of filing a whistleblower case against the
Yep.
FBI was mounting. I've had to refinance my home 3 times
Oh.
in order to cover the costs. I should not have a mortgage. Any other route, if I had not blown the whistle, my house would have been paid for years ago.
Oh.
But I've had
Teresa.
to refinance many times in order just to afford to keep fighting this fight. When I took that oath that I entered when I entered on duty, it didn't expire on the day I was fired.
No.
There's no expiration to that oath in my mind. I have upheld the oath with integrity, and I cannot say the same for the FBI.
Yeah.
The interview will continue after this brief message. Become part of the growing grassroots movement that supports whistleblowers around the world who risk their careers, financial security, friendships, and even their freedom to speak out against wrongdoing. Make a one-time gift or become a monthly donor today. Every donation makes a difference. Visit whistleblowersblog.org to give.
So I'm curious, Teresa. You obviously, I saw you at National Whistleblower Day last year,
Yes.
and I have to assume that you're familiar with retaliatory, activity that the Bureau and other agencies do, which is the mobbing, downgrading, bullying. And did you see all that happening to you?
I did, and the last blow was this past. It started in 2023. I filed another protective order in
Mm-hmm.
2023 to the inspection division, and I basically told them that my unit, I was in the training services unit now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how I got to the training services unit first. Um, I begged to get out a national name check. I begged the AD at the time to transfer me out of the national
Mm-hmm.
name check program. And I basically told him it was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
I told him that I had ended up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The stress was just getting to be too
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yep.
And I received a 1 sentence response from the AD. And his response was, Teresa, you know full well that your transferred out of the National Name Check program is tied to your litigation against the FBI.
Whoa.
That is illegal.
Whoa.
And it's in writing.
They put it in writing.
And that came
Oh.
from the AD, and it came was um
Oh.
it was the FBI legal counsel who advised them not to transfer me
Right.
because they were using it for settlement talks.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So they allowed me to be in that harassing,
Mm-hmm.
hostile work environment,
Yep.
deteriorating my health
Yep.
for those years because they wanted that transfer to be part of the negotiation to get me to just settle and go away.
Yeah. Oh dear, Teresa, this is a
So,
nightmare.
3 weeks after that email came out, I received my transfer out of the National Name Check program into the Training Services Unit, where I could actually use my adjunct faculty certification
Right.
that I had gotten in 2015.
Right. So you're not currently, employed by the FBI. Something happened.
Yes. In 2023, um, I was still being retaliated against,
Mm-hmm.
and even after the transfer. And I knew that I probably wouldn't receive any further advancement, but at
Mm-hmm.
least I was out of name check, and I thought I
Right.
was in a better place. Um, but I was held to different standards than colleagues performing the same duties.
Yeah.
And while I was not only being held to higher in different standards, which that's in itself is a form of bullying.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
decided that I was not going to be able to advance to 13, which all of the other colleagues in the unit
Mm-hmm.
were MAPAs, management and program analysts, GS 13s. I was only going to be a 12, which is what I was in name check, and I was
Uh-huh.
not going to be able to advance to that 13.
Ugh.
And then it got to the point where it was okay. I was being told, well, every trainer has to do this before they can move on.
Right.
Every trainer has to perform this task before they can move on. And that wasn't the case. There was 2 trainers hired after me that didn't have to perform those same tasks that I was being told everyone had to do.
Right.
Um,
Different
and
standards for you.
yeah,
Different standards for you. Teresa, I have to ask because I can't stand this. Did Comey ever reach out and ask you how things were going, check up on you?
no,
Okay.
but um, I contacted Director Ray.
Oh, okay.
I ended up after Comey was dismissed. He never
Mm-hmm.
reached back out. He
Never
sent
did.
it to the
Mm.
inspection and then I contacted Director Ray when I was begging the AD for my transfer, and he responded with that it was tied up in litigation.
Mm.
I sent that email and ab- all the history about my whistleblowing to Director Ray.
Yeah.
So now I'm with the second director involved.
Right.
And he responds that he is confident that I am going to be well served by the legal counsel
Mm.
at FBI headquarters. Um, that didn't
Mm-mm-mm.
happen.
No.
And there was no follow up with Director Ray as well.
Right. And I suppose he came out that year and also talked about how the FBI protects their whistleblowers
Yes,
and makes sure there's no retaliation. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And then
So
in
there's, oh, I'm sorry, Teresa.
2023,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there was a situation in the office. I was not liked on my team
Mm-hmm.
because my team wasted a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
My teammates were all high level GS 13s,
Mm-hmm.
and they spent more time trying to get out of work than do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Teresa,
not in my work
yeah.
ethic.
Well, and you're also a whistleblower, so you don't think the word was passed down to, yeah,
It definitely was. I was
yeah,
being treated differently by them.
right,
Many knew that if they befriended me,
right.
then it would not be good for them. So
That's right.
that is definitely part of it.
Yep.
As the time went on, um, I was in the middle of a training where I was actually taking a training at my desk with my headphones on, and my teammates decided it would be a good time to have cupcakes and a party, and the section chief came out and brought cupcakes out, and they're standing there. Well, he's seen that I was on a call, so he immediately stopped and just said, I just wanted to drop these off, and went back to his office. The teammates decided to stay right at my desk, being loud, laughing, and I'm missing important pieces of
Mhm.
what I needed to learn.
Yeah.
When I looked at them and said, like, and they're like looking at me like, dare you say something?
Yeah.
So I mentioned to my supervisor, who was not there today, the acting supervisor was on the same call that I was and was being disrupted just as much as I was,
Right.
and did not stop it from happening.
Okay.
And so then I reported it to my supervisor,
Okay.
and I got some really strong backlash from the supervisor, the teammates, and then I was told I couldn't be trusted.
Uh-oh.
And
Uh-oh.
yes, I couldn't be trusted. And
Okay.
so then I sent it to the inspection division, and I told them that um, in reality, with as much time as my unit wastes, that they could just absorb my unit into other units. I only had a small unit of 11 people. That's not even possible in the FBI.
Mhm.
But it is, because the information management division had a unit that only contained 11 people, and that's including the unit chief and the supervisor.
Wow. Who were agents? Who were
No,
agents? Oh,
no,
they were not. They were
they
super
were,
clerks.
yes,
Ah.
they were management, supervisory management and program analysts, and a unit chief,
Ah, got
but
you.
no aid, not agents.
Okay.
And these individuals uh, did not like being told that their jobs could be
Right.
done away with. That was
Right.
in January of 2023.
Okay.
In August of 2023, I received a notice from the inspection division saying that they did not feel that they needed to open a full investigation. However, they did look into the matter and made mandatory uh, recommendations. So
Okay.
they did make mandatory. Well, after that point, and 2023 was my best year following my whistleblower.
Right.
I was able to go on a TDY where I excelled. It was to create a main entity audit,
Mhm.
and that was right in line with my background.
Okay.
So I was in 2023, I created a main entity audit. I wrote an SOP for this audit. I drafted a record liaison um, survey that had the highest response since it's been started, since it's been going, and it led to uh, awesome recommendations and
Mhm.
changes to the program and process. I was having a wonderful year, that
Yes.
2023.
And Teresa, we should mention for our audience, SOP is standard operating procedure, right?
Yes.
Okay. Continue. So you're just flying here. You're
Yes,
doing a great job.
2023 is
You're
just
flying.
an amazing year for me.
Okay.
I was also able to join the cross-cultural mentor program and
Oh.
got accepted into that. So I had a unit chief mentor from a totally different section and division.
Ah.
And when I met up with my mentor, he was amazing. We we just was able to share, objectives, goals,
Mhm.
and he gave me suggestions on how to reach those. And I felt like I was moving up in the right track
Mhm.
again. And I
Yeah.
just felt like on such a high in 2023.
Mhm. And something happened, didn't it?
Yes, because once
Okay.
that inspection investigation, what email came out in August, everything changed.
Well,
All of
well,
my accomplishments was being downgraded.
okay, the inspection division report was on the party.
It was on my unit,
Okay, it
my
was on your
team.
unit,
Yes.
but was the
And
party thing part of that,
the
or
party was part of it, but
okay,
it was also the fact that we didn't need as many employees in that unit,
okay,
and that if we got rid of some of those positions and dissolved the unit into other units, the ones that positions that were necessary, they could have saved over $775,000
wow.
annually, because they could have got rid of a unit chief. They could have
Mhm.
got rid of a supervisor position and at least 3 or 4 other positions out of the 11.
Okay.
And so they could have dissolved that unit altogether. And it's funny, your management don't like it when you tell them that their position is not necessary.
Oh, no. No, they don't, Teresa. No, they don't. But now something happened here after that inspection report.
Yes.
So what happened that now you're sitting out with the public and you lost this job that you were so
Well,
good at?
I was told I was starting to be bullied by my teammates and
Okay.
supervisor to a where I was literally being shut out. They weren't sharing the information I needed to do my job. They were withholding information from me on indexing changes and practices. And so
Mm,
I was losing the ability to perform my job correctly. And
right.
I'd been on the TDY, so now I'm coming back. And if changes have been made, it's important for me to know these changes,
Right.
but
Right.
they're not being shared. I'm not being
Mm,
invited to the meetings, um, and so things like that
mm.
continued to happen.
Yeah.
I reached out to my section chief of, and we met. We actually met, and once we met, I just explained I'm being bullied, harassed, and I
Mhm.
feel like I'm being pushed out of
Mhm.
the team and the unit and possibly the FBI altogether.
Right.
And so I got an email from my section chief in October of 23. And in that email, he said that he had contacted my management
Mhm.
and they have assured him that I'm still in the indexing and records management team and that I will continue to be mentored. Well, that was in October of 23. I ended up having a medical condition.
Mhm.
I had to have a surgery. And so I put in for FMLA,
Mhm.
took this leave, and it was only supposed to be like 6 weeks.
Okay.
Well,
That's
there was,
family leave. When you
yeah,
use that acronym, that
yeah,
means family leave. Okay.
yes. And so I it was only supposed to be a 6-week period of time,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it turned into a medical crisis.
Okay.
There was complications, things happened, and I was out of the office from November 13th to February 14th, 3 months.
Okay.
I was out of the office. And before I had my surgery, I had requested from my supervisor to have my end of year evaluation
Right.
prior to my surgery. She knew I was going to be out 6 weeks. And,
Okay.
could I have it before?
Mhm.
And I was told denied, said it
Okay.
wasn't possible, even
Okay.
though it should have been given to me
Before you left.
before by
Mhm.
November 13th,
Right.
but it was not.
Okay.
So I come back to work on February the 13th. On February the 14th, I received my end of year evaluation for FY23. And it was meets consistent performance, everything good.
Mhm.
But the funny thing was, I was placed on an individual improvement plan,
Oh,
individual development plan.
oh, sure. That's the beginning of the end, Teresa.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was the beginning of the
yeah.
end.
That's what they
Even though I
use.
just received a consistent performance.
Yeah, that's
Even
what
though
they
my
use.
last communication with the section chief was that I was still on the team, gonna be
Mm-hmm.
mentored, everything was good. Now
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, I'm being told that I am not trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
um,
They
and
said that you're not trustworthy.
yes, yes, that my coworkers do not trust me anymore.
Oh, sure. Oh,
Um,
sure. Oh, sure.
well, I spoke the truth. That
Yes.
remember in that oath it says truthfully by true faith.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke the truth,
Yes,
and
you
but
did.
for speaking that truth, a plan was developed while I was on that medical leave and put in place.
That's right.
And so, and it did not take me long to realize there was nothing I could do that was going to
Change
meet
it. Yeah.
meet and say that I met those changes. I met
Right.
those requirements. Um,
It's kind
I
of like a runaway train, isn't it, Teresa? It
yes,
just you
it
see.
just and it went so fast
Yeah.
from that point down. I was getting weekly
Mm-hmm.
meetings with my supervisor, and
Yeah.
in those weekly meetings, I was being told every little mistake I'd made.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't do anything right. I was never given
Mm-hmm.
credit for doing anything right,
Yeah.
but any mistake I'd made, most of them were either grammatical
Mm-hmm. Oh,
or
yeah.
spelling because I am the worst speller.
Oh, yeah.
I have problems with, but I do not have problems communicating. I can get
Right.
my point across. I always have, and it's clear they understand. They walk away, um, feeling like they obtained the knowledge that they were intended to
Right.
obtain. All of
But
my training evaluations were good. Like
right.
I had
But
great training,
Teresa,
but we have evaluations after trainings.
but Teresa, it wasn't about the spelling, was it? It
No, it
really
wasn't.
wasn't about the spelling.
I had
They gradually, I assume, because this goes along with every other FBI whistleblower, they just slowly, gradually downgrade you until
yes.
finally you constructively discharge or they fire you. Which one did you choose?
They fired me.
Okay.
They decided in July
Based
of
on?
2000 July 10th, 2024, they
Mm-hmm.
put me on a 90-day performance improvement
Oh, there
plan.
it is. Yep. Yep.
Now, at this time, I'm still suffering the medical crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on medication. Um, in August of 24, I actually had to go in and have a nerve stimulator
Mm-hmm.
implanted in my spine, surgically
Right.
implanted in my spine. The problem is the diagnosis that I have is called complex regional pain syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and it's brought on by stress.
Sure. And
And
they obviously saw that it was the perfect time to make their move.
yes,
You were
yes,
vulnerable.
yes,
That's another common thing that they see is vulnerability,
yes.
and they strike.
And
And
they waited till
mhm,
I was at my weakest
yep,
and most vulnerable, and they put me on this performance improvement plan.
yep,
I requested reasonable accommodation, which was
mhm,
denied by my supervisor. I had to go through the reasonable accommodation
mm,
process, and they did not approve that until the end. They approved it September 10th. That they didn't tell me it got approved until September 30th, the end of
right.
the FY24.
Oh, Teresa,
And then
you
I was notified on October 24th that
Yeah.
I failed my PIP,
Yeah.
and then I was placed on indefinite suspension
Yeah.
from November 7th until January 30th. And in that time, I could appeal the
Mhm.
PIP. I could do it in written and oral,
Mhm.
which I chose to do both. And my oral appeal was on January 29th. It took them less than 24 hours
Mhm.
to make their decision to fire me. And
Yeah.
I was fired on January 30th when now Director Patel was in his confirmation hearings
Mhm.
before Congress.
Sure.
I was given the notice that I was no longer employed with the FBI.
Yeah. They got you out the door before that happened.
Yes.
Have you talked with, because when I went through this experience clear back in the 2000s, 1998, 1999, there was only Fred Whitehurst that I know, and he was the grandfather of FBI whistleblowers, and I turned out to be the grandmother. But you certainly have had other FBI whistleblowers you had the opportunity to talk to. So did they tell you about your experience is the same as what they've suffered? Because it certainly is the same as mine. Have you
Yes.
talked to other FBI whistleblowers and seen that
I
pattern?
I have attended the National Whistleblower Day
Mhm.
conference for the last 4 or 5 years,
Right.
and I met Fred Whitehurst there.
Mhm.
I've met Robert Cobus.
Oh, yes, from New York.
I
Mhm.
also met last year the one that's in the news for losing his clearance.
Well, there's more than one. Yeah, that's the way they're doing it now, is just yanking the clearance.
Yes,
So you got an opportunity to see that your treatment is pretty pro forma.
yes,
Everyone speculates there's a book there that they just follow because everyone is clearly the same, almost the same.
yes.
Um, so let me. What is your feeling now?
Well, during the same time that I was being dismissed, the OARM decided in 2024 that I was not a whistleblower.
Oh,
After all this time of showing up on the report from the Department of Justice to the president every year, they have to give an account of how many whistleblowers the FBI has to give an account
mm-hmm.
of
That's
how
right.
many whistleblowers are and what stages they're in. So from 2015 to now, I'm still showing up on that report as a
Mm-hmm.
FBI whistleblower. But OARM said, "Oh, well, you should never." They couldn't get the FBI to change their report because in 2020 the FBI came out with, or the Department of Justice came out with their report of my uh, investigation and said that they had concluded that reprisal it's they're confident reprisal occurred. And then and the FBI didn't want to accept that. So the FBI pushed back. And in 2022,
Hmm.
the Department of Justice came out with another report. It softened some of the language and took out some of the harsh
Mm-hmm.
wording, but it still concluded reprisal occurred. And since the FBI couldn't get the Department of Justice to change
Mm-hmm.
their report, um, then they decided, oh, well, let's go with that she wasn't a whistleblower to begin with. And so I am in an appeal status with the
Mm-hmm.
DAG right now on appealing that the OARM conclusion is that I don't deserve any compensation for being an FBI whistleblower and all my losses. And even though we have been in global settlement talks over the years, now I'm not I should just never have been considered a whistleblower. So now they're just trying to say I'm not a whistleblower at all.
Yeah. And I have to turn to your attorney now, Mr. Meyer, because, are they just hoping Teresa Tumblin is going to die? Is this kind of the bottom line? I mean, this is ridiculous. 2014, she files her first whistleblower claim. It's now 11 years later, 2014. Yeah. What is going on?
So, Jane, you introduced me as a steam counsel. I think I'm more appropriately described as the steamed counsel on this
Yes.
case.
Oh,
As you know, that discrimination against whistleblowers is not like Civil Rights Act
no.
discrimination. Civil Rights Act discrimination is pretty much has worked from the legal standards into the heads of federal executives. They get it.
Mhm.
Your race, your age, your gender, etc., have nothing to do with doing your job as a federal employee. So you get restitution because the reason for discrimination, race, age, gender, etc.,
Mhm.
just does not have anything to do with the federal mission. You don't have
Mhm.
to be of any particular race to be a successful federal employee. You don't have to be of any particular gender, etc. That never happened with whistleblowing. We passed the Whistleblower Protection Act. We got the FBI special rules. They wanted to be a carve out. I think that should come to an
Mhm.
end. They should be like everybody else. There's nothing special about the FBI.
Mhm.
And we got the laws passed, and the law was passed. The protections are in black and white on the
Mhm.
page, but the standards were never internalized for this one fundamental reason. Unlike race, gender, etc., whistleblowing is about the federal mission, and it's about
Mhm.
your supervisor typically. So it's about the way the agency does their job, and supervisors and managers have been unwilling to understand that they could be the problem. This is not about the problem in some subordinate's head because they're a bigot. It's
Mhm.
about a problem in the agency because somebody has pointed out wrongdoing,
Mhm.
and the agency does not want to confess and be penitential and be contrite and do what the right thing. Okay, to use a law enforcement term. So
Mhm.
in Teresa's case, in terms of longevity, it's as far as cases I've been associated with, it's up there with David Tenenbaum's, which is still going on. That started about 2008. And it's
Ugh.
been very hard to get these issues in front of the American people. The media terrain has been just swampy on this. But think about the disclosure, about name checks, about understanding who has access
Mhm.
to our most precious national security processes. This is similar to Tony Schaefer's issues in Able Danger. Did we know the
Mhm.
identity of Muhammad Atta prior to 9/11? What was our ability to vet
Mhm.
various names to see who might be a threat to the country? I had another case about the same time when I was with the defense IG on the indexing of Donald Rumsfeld's personal papers. And my client went cross swords with the supervisors because they
Mhm.
didn't want the indexing to be
Right.
reliable enough to call up documents that were relevant. The idea was get them in the box, put them next to the Ark of the Covenant in some federal warehouse in Ohio, and hope that nobody ever found out about how we
Right.
got into the war when we got into the war. The FBI lab controversies are
Yes.
all about these issues. It's about the reliability of data, and not to say the whole DNA rape kit issue. If it's not
Right.
tracked, it doesn't exist, and if it doesn't
Right.
exist, the crime doesn't need to be investigated, and some victim is left raped without an investigation. So, this in law enforcement, there is this effort to look at the facts that are presented and figure out a way to inculcate ignorance into the system. How can we package this system so we don't have to look at facts that can be called up? So that was the basic disclosure. I first got a call from this. I was actually back in the intelligence community my former boss was in this position at Tully Rinke before me, Chuck McCullough. He was the former IG. Chuck called me to chew me out. He said, "Who exempted the FBI from that whistleblower program over under the DNI?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I got this case, a woman out in Winchester, and they're hammering her. It's just wrong the way it's going about it. And the process just looks absolutely like torture." And I said, "Chuck, you approve the exemptions." This is when they set up PPD 19. We decided that the FBI was mature enough to run its own program. There were actually, I think, 6 or 8 agencies that were allowed to run their own program. So he was my predecessor on this case. I think we've had 5 counsels on this case at Tully Rinke. And he made the smart decision. He pulled Teresa out of the whistleblower program over at FBI and submitted the matter to Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. It wasn't just the Department of Justice that made the decision that Teresa was a whistleblower. It was Michael Horowitz. So, next to Earl Devaney, I can't think of a Inspector General that I hold in higher regard.
Agree.
And so Michael's team comes out and says reprisal. I had just gotten the case file. This was like 2018. I thought, oh, this is great. This will be over by Christmas. Well, just like the FBI sicked Teresa's coworkers on her, that's a tried and true tactic I've seen many an agency do. The FBI went after Horowitz and hammered his report. Adam Miles' team did a great job over there. They survived the hammering. There were some changes in the findings, but it didn't change the overall finding itself. And so the FBI just ignored their IG. Oh, where have we seen that before? David Tenenbaum got a discrimination decision out of the defense IG in 2008. He's still trying to get his remedy because the Department of the Army just ignored the IG. I can think of another reprisal case, George Ellard at the NSA, right? This is public, I can talk about it. George Ellard was found to reprise against one of his inspectors over at the NSA IG. And what happens? The Secretary of Defense rolls the IG. This has been a chronic problem of IGs finding reprisal. This is not wanting to do an investigation. This is not wanting to do a review. This is actually doing one and finding reprisal. And the establishment, because they want to get along to go along, rolls the IG and ignores the whistleblower. So we tried to take this to MSPB under what I call the Tristan Levitt statute, which was passed originally. It was Tristan's idea. He should get credit for it. Judge Levitt thought that the FBI should have some oversight from MSPB. We lost on jurisdictional grounds because it was time barred because the events were prior to the statute. The termination is not. So if the deputy director at the FBI does not do the right thing and fix this, and I think he should do that in discussion with Kash Patel, this case should be Kash Patel's example to the country what he thinks about federal whistleblowing and source protection, right? He's now got an opportunity to get on paper and ink what his policy is towards whistleblowers. If it doesn't happen, then I think we've got a shot the next time around before the board because we won't be time barred on the termination. But, there are very few people with shoulders as broad as Teresa Tumblin. I think of, I had a client out in the Bureau of Land Management, Kent Wilkinson, when I worked for Peer. I was a general counsel at Peer. Kent watched the floor below him get fired, the floor above him get fired, everybody to the left of him get fired, everybody to the right of him get fired. There was nobody left in the agency. And Kent had the internal fortitude to stick it out. And in the end, he won. And that's what I'm hoping will happen in Teresa's case.
I'm telling you, I'm right there with you rooting for her, Dan. I'm serious. She has hung in there, and Teresa will give you the last word here. Looks like you have incredible representation. You've got the fortitude, integrity. You're a hero. Give us your last words, Teresa.
Well, Jane, I don't really consider myself a hero. I am just a small town girl who got a job with the FBI and brought my personal values that I already held way before I got my job at the FBI, and the integrity that I already had been instilled in me, and put it to use. I don't consider myself a hero at all. But what I do want to stop is all of the unnecessary opportunities for American citizens to be harmed in any
Right.
way, shape, or form because of things that could have been changed and corrected and wasn't. I can't believe, for the life of me, I cannot believe that only 2 agents knew about Larry Nassar reporting those gymnasts reporting Larry
Mm-hmm.
Nassar. I cannot believe that only 2 people knew about that. There
Yeah.
had to be others that could have spoke up and said something. But why didn't they say something?
Mm-hmm.
Because of this type of reaction from the FBI. It's
Exactly.
because of the reprisal, the retaliation, and it's not easy. As I mentioned, it's cost me a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but my
And,
integrity's not for sale. It hasn't cost that.
and Teresa, that's what makes you a hero. And I feel very confident in saying that. And we'll see you at National Whistleblower Day this year, I hope.
Yes, I plan on
Excellent.
being there. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer, thank you. You are also a hero
A-
for your advocation of whistleblowers. Thank
And
you so
Jane,
much. Yes,
Jane, I would like to add one more thing
sure.
that I I would not have been able to make it as far as I have without God. God has brought me to this, and He's bringing me through this. Um, there is no way in my own self that I could have afforded it. I could
Yep.
have made it this far. So God's going to get the glory. He always does.
Excellent. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, I assume they can send you communication through Mr. Dan Meyer with Tully Rinke.
Yes.
Excellent. So if anyone has any questions, wishes to do something, they can get a hold of you through Mr. Dan Meyer with Tully Rinke. Thank you so much. You're both just amazing.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find more whistleblower stories at whistleblowersblog.org. Music by Rachel Kilgore, guest booking by Victoria Thompson, and editing by Anissa Cheek. Whistleblower of the Week is a production of Whistleblower Network News. The views expressed by podcast guests are their own and not those of Whistleblower Network News.